it just got worse. So yesterday, in an impressive win over the Boston Celtics, who weirdly didn't shoot a free throw, which I found really strange. It's been an odd end of the NBA regular season. Boston didn't shoot a free throw. Boston had nothing to play for. They don't have anything to play for. They've locked up the 1 seed, home court throughout the playoffs. And here's what happened. Milwaukee's up. They did end up winning this game, but Milwaukee's up big, third quarter. Boston, I think Derek White makes a corner three. And this is Giannis after inbounding to Damian Lillard. We'll show it off for the YouTube and Twitter audience and sort of narrate for the podcast audience. Here's Giannis. No contact whatsoever, goes down on the floor. We'll show it a couple more times here. Giannis injured, goes down. He's holding that lower calf Achilles area. Again, no contact, isn't, pushed by anybody. There's nobody in the vicinity of Giannis, and he goes down right there, and he obviously limped to the locker room, didn't play the rest of the game. We did get an update minutes before the show started tonight that said, I think it was from Chris Haynes or from Woj, one of the two, that say that Giannis Antetokounmpo is, do we have it right here? Okay, according to Shams Charania, and Chris Haynes reported right after, Giannis Antetokounmpo will miss the remaining 3 games of the regular season and receive daily treatment and evaluation on the calf strain. And again, Chris Haynes echoed that same report not long after. So Giannis going to miss the rest of the regular season. Milwaukee right now is the 2 seed. They're a game up on the Phoenix Suns. It's kind of going to be, the Phoenix Suns. The New York Knicks battle for that 2 seed is going to commence over the last few games of the regular season. I haven't believed in Milwaukee all season. I think that goes without saying, or certainly since the Doc Rivers hiring. Obviously, if Giannis is gone, any shot they had is obviously goes up in smoke. One thing I will say, if this makes Bucks fans feel any better, and obviously that report, it's not like, oh, Giannis suffered an Achilles injury. I figured it wasn't like a torn Achilles or a ruptured Achilles like what we saw with Kevin Durant. Because remember when Kevin Durant got hurt, when he first injured that Achilles area and the Warriors said calf strain, BS, that was an Achilles injury. Remember when Kevin Durant made a shot against the Houston Rockets? It was a playoff game. He jogs back the other way, no contact, and then looks back like, who kicked me? And he holds the Achilles area. He's like, who kicked me? That's what everybody who tears an Achilles says. It feels like somebody kicked you. And obviously nobody did. It's something snapped in your lower leg. If you watch Giannis, we'll show it one more time. If we can show the Giannis video one more time. Giannis does not look back. He just goes down. He doesn't like, oh, who kicked me? He doesn't do that, which is a good sign. No doctor, not going to play one on this podcast, but generally speaking, every athlete that's ever hurt an Achilles or torn an Achilles, that tends to be the issue. So Giannis should come back for the playoffs. And he will play his final game as a Milwaukee Buck in these playoffs. I said this on Monday. And over the last few weeks, again, Milwaukee is 16-17 since Doc took over. They're middle of the pack in virtually like Golden State. They're the anti-Golden State. Golden State, the last 36 games, top 5, top 10 in basically every category imaginable. Field goal percentage, defense, offense, all that. Milwaukee's middle of the pack in virtually every category. Okay, they don't play defense particularly well. Their offensive rating for an offense that's got Giannis and Dame, they're like 17th, I think, in the NBA in offensive rating since Doc Rivers took over to be the head coach. A lot of that is Doc, and a lot of that also is, again, the lack of fit between Giannis and Dame. My man Barry Grant Jr. pointed this out. We were talking on the phone a couple weeks ago, and he said, watch the Giannis and Dame pick and roll. Because Dame doesn't have a mid-range and Giannis doesn't have a jumper, it's a one-dimensional pick and roll. So, and Barry pointed that out. That's not my basketball analysis. That's his, so give him the credit for it. But he's right on that. Think about the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, I forgot to bring this up earlier. All stats are provided by our friends at StatMuse. All graphics provided by my man Alfred Parsard Jr. of the Grid Network. The Milwaukee Bucks are basically the Buffalo Bills, but with a championship. And what I mean by that is, remember Buffalo made the AFC title game in 2020? Josh Allen came in second for MVP, and it's like, oh, here come the Bills. And for the last 3 years, the Bills are going to knock off the Chiefs, and they never did. But they kept going backwards. That's Milwaukee since they won the title. Here's this graphic. Again, all stats provided by StatMuse, all graphics provided by Alfred Parsard Jr. Shout out to Alfred. Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA title in 2021, right? 2022, loss of a second round. Last year, lost in the first round. This year, we'll see. But given right now where the playoffs sit here today, so the Bucks right now would be the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, okay? And they're in a lose-lose scenario no matter where they face. With or without Giannis. Without Giannis, obviously, they're cooked. They're the 2 seed right now. If the play-in standings, let's say for the sake of argument, Philly-Miami play, let's say Philly wins. Well, let's see. Embiid looks amazing. And for his sketchy playoff history, he's good in the first round. Embiid's first round stats, second round stats, night and day. So Philly, with Embiid, with Maxey, has been great. Tobias Harris, Nick Nurse, massive upgrade at head coach with the guy who's, the guy who replaced Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers is now coaching the Bucks. So Philly has the coaching advantage. Embiid is absolutely, in terms of from a skill perspective, on Giannis's level. Philly's deeper. Philly's better offensively, certainly when Embiid's in the lineup. I think Philly would win that series. If they draw Miami, well, let's see. That's been the team that's knocked off Milwaukee twice in a gentleman's sweep in the last 5 seasons. So that's a terrible matchup for Milwaukee. If they fall to the 3 seed, if the Knicks jump them, Milwaukee falls to the 3 seed. Let's see. They get the Pacers, who they, have beaten 1 time this season. And the Pacers have just, run up the score on Milwaukee. Like, Milwaukee can't stop them. Not many teams can. Indiana's a great offensive team, can't play any defense, but it's another bad matchup for Milwaukee. So no matter the matchup, the Bucks are screwed in the first round. So if they go out in round 1, and I believe they will, I think Giannis is going to ask out this summer. And I think we know Giannis is going to ask out this summer because I think he was on the verge of doing so a year ago. Remember, Giannis had those quotes. They lost in the first round to the Miami Heat. And he says that if the Bucks are not intent on putting a title team together, or putting a team together that's capable of competing for a championship, then I'll have to leave. And the Bucks, in response, similar to how they did in 2020 by acquiring Drew Holiday, trade Drew Holiday to get a superstar in Damian Lillard. Multi-time All-Star is never gone deep in the playoffs because Dame's not a guy who can lead you to a title. He can absolutely be the second best player given the right fit. And again, the fit with Giannis just hasn't worked, and it's just been kind of clunky. Now, you could say, well, Milwaukee's the 2 seed. Boston's better than everybody out east. They're up on the Bucks, I think, like 14 games in the Eastern Conference standings. Boston's destroyed everybody. But if you watch the games, you watch the offensive pick and roll, the defense has not been good at all. And it was always good. Say what you want about Budenholzer, and I was very critical of the guy. His defenses were always good. That was never the issue. They were a little one-dimensional offensively, but they could play defense. Given that it's a small market, given that they're not exactly drawing in free agents. Cleveland is not LA as far as a market, but it's bigger than Milwaukee. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They got 3 teams, Cavs, Browns, and Guardians. Ohio State football not far, not too far away. Braun couldn't get a free agent in Cleveland. You tell me Giannis can in Milwaukee? Nobody's, again, as I said on Monday, no NBA superstar is going to go to his family, hey, honey, hey, kids, pack up. We're going to Milwaukee. The star player ain't going to say that. Kareem left. Kareem got a title, dipped in the late 70s, or mid to late 70s. That's what I think Giannis is going to do. Hopefully not to the Lakers, although they could be a potential candidate, although I don't really know what assets they have to give Milwaukee. But the Knicks have a ton of assets. The Warriors have a ton of assets. Miami could make a push. Probably have to be like a 3-team trade, but they can make a push. Giannis will look at these teams. Look at the Golden State Warriors as its championship culture. He'll view the Miami Heat the same way. He'll look at the New York Knicks and say, okay, they got a point guard in Jalen Brunson who does have a mid-range, who does have a consistent floater. Tom Thibodeau, great defensive coach. Doc Rivers is not. We got a better coach. I get a co-star that Brunson, I don't think, although you could make a case Brunson might be better than Dame, and I love Dame, but it's close. A similar co-star who fits better, a better coach, deeper roster, and I get to stay in the weak Eastern Conference. Golden State, championship culture. I get to play with freaking Steph Curry. Who doesn't want to do that? KD got to play with Steph, got 2 titles out of it. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to play his final game as a Milwaukee Buck this month. Because at this point, what other moves can the Bucks make? It'll be assume they move on from Doc, which Doc may resign. They may not even have to make a decision. Doc may make it for him. Because Doc, you watch these press conferences, man, he looked like he didn't want to be there, which is odd because he took the job mid-season after having kind of a cush announcing job for ESPN. But Doc was like, yeah, I see why I didn't stay in coaching to a certain extent. But if Doc leaves, they fire him. That'll be 4 head coaches in 3 years in Milwaukee. That'll be, in all likelihood, I believe, 2 first-round exits in a row. That will be a co-star in Dame who's getting older, is very expensive, and doesn't fit with Giannis. An older roster, Brook Lopez. Bobby Portis is the quote-unquote young guy. He's almost 30. I'm telling you, I think this is going to be history, whether they say history often repeats itself, this is literally going to be like Kareem in the 70s, where it got to a point, and Milwaukee came close to winning other titles in the 70s, but never got to where they were, obviously, in 1971. And Kareem at the end was like, hey, I want to play for a better organization and one that can draw in free agents. Thus, Kareem ended up a Laker, got another 5 titles out of it. I think it'll be the exact same thing with Milwaukee's next superstar, Giannis, doing something similar. And for the record, his tenure in Milwaukee was very successful. 2 MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, and the man won a freaking championship. That's all that Milwaukee could have asked for. So I don't think there'll be any vitriol toward Giannis in Milwaukee, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis will play his final game as a Buck this month. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.